This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Sheist Podcast Network.
Hello, Bad Movie Lovers. I am your host, Nick Sheist, and I'm back here for another new episode of Bad Movies We Love. You may or may not have noticed, but I took last week off, and I was initially going to try to get this episode out the day after Thanksgiving, but I ultimately decided that I just wanted to enjoy the holiday, take some time off for myself, relax, enjoy the family time, and I hope that you did the same, if you celebrate. And if you don't, hopefully it was just nice to get a break from hearing me talk. But you and I both know.
If you're listening to this, you are the Resistance.
That's right. And if you want to support the Resistance in the final month of the year, you can do so by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/badmovieswelove. That's where you can become a supporter of the show, like my friend Ben from the Cinema Shit Show. And because Ben has been a loyal subscriber since the beginning, he's got a special gift headed his way that he doesn't even know about. And he won't know about it until he listens to this show several months from now. He'll know something's up when a package arrives on his doorstep, but we'll keep that a surprise, so shh. If you're not in a position to donate, that's okay. But you want to help the show in another way, you can do so by subscribing to the show on your favorite podcast platform and by leaving a review and a rating, because I still believe that word of mouth is the best way to help. Now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, we've got a great episode lined up for you today as we turn back the clock to the superhero era of the mid-90s as we dive into Mike Binder's Blankman from 1994. It is great junk.
He is a hand crank washing machine that dispenses Diet Pepsi.
You could make a helmet that brushes your teeth, but you can't just fix your glasses like a normal person.
The speculum of life.
Grandma comes over and starts whooping their ass.
Don't touch the third rail or you're dead.
And then eventually, they blow him up with a bunch of C4, which...
Look at the crack house.
That seems like the kind of guy you would send to kill an old lady.
Who are all those people just watching and yelling?
Shut up, you crusty old bitch.
Okay, Manelli, the jig is up. It's time for you to pay the piper. Get ready to rumble!
Welcome back, Scott. Good to see you again.
How's it going, man? How you doing?
It's been a long day, but I'm glad that day has led me here, where we get to hang out and talk about Blankman. This is one that I considered bringing to Film Club for September. So this is going to be like an honorary September episode. Should have recorded this in September, but I don't plan things in advance all that well. So here we are in November doing a superhero movie.
Yeah. It's for sure one of the first superhero movies I think I ever saw. It's got to be because, I think it was the early Batman movies, the 78 Superman, and then probably this. It was pretty early because I saw it when I was a kid, 8 or 9 years old. So, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a gap between the Supermans and then Batman coming and sort of reestablishing that superheroes can be a marketable property for the film industry. And I think the year before this we got Meteor Man.
Yes, which I never saw, but I heard was good, but I never saw it.
Yeah, you should. Now that you've gone back and watched Blankman again, you should check out Meteor Man. They're definitely close to being in the same universe, if not officially in the same universe.
Well, yeah, and I also I saw this before I had ever seen the 60s Batman. So I did not understand what it's directly referencing. And now I do. I'm watching okay, this is clearly their love for 60s, that show. That's so much part of what this is. But at the time I was just oh, that's kind of cool. Like I didn't catch all the references at the time. So
what was it about like this movie that like sprung into your mind and made you want to bring it to the table for this show?
well, I did not know that it wasn't considered like a great movie by people. I remember why I saw it. It was so I'm going to tell the brief version of this. Do you remember Columbia House?
Vaguely, yes.
Okay, so they would have this thing where if you wanted to join Columbia House, you would pick like 8 movies and you could get them all for a cent, quote unquote, 1 cent. And that's like your introduction. And then you have to like buy movies at regular price after that. Anyway, I somehow talked my parents into getting me this, like after great duress. It took forever. They were like, okay, Scott, we'll let you do it. So they had like a sheet of paper that was like stamps, and the movie posters were on individual stamps, and you guys like lick them and place them on like
That's cool.
the eight slot. It was really fun. I remember being really into that. And this was one of the movies I chose because I wasn't allowed to get R-rated movies. So it was like I just picked whichever PG-13 or PG movies were available. So I picked this, and I don't think I'd seen it before I picked it. So I bought it. It came in the mail. I watched it, and I just remember I watched it with a buddy of mine who was like probably my best friend when I was a kid. And I just remember we really thought it, like we really enjoyed it, really thought it was funny. And that scared me a little bit watching it now. Cause I'm like, what if it's not funny?
Yeah.
But it's probably funnier now than it was back then. Like there's so much I probably didn't get then. I'm sure I didn't. But yeah, I thought it held up great. And I was just surprised that it wasn't considered like high on the list of like great 90s comedies. So when I kind of sensed it wasn't, I was like, well, this would be a good one to pick for this, because this is, for the record, not a bad movie. And I've verified that with my watch this week. It's not bad. It's a good movie.
I had fun with it, and I wish I got it for a cent because I ended up having to rent it for $4, but that's fine. They can have my $4. It went to a good cause, but I think I would agree with you pretty strongly that it's better now because I'm old enough to not just appreciate the humor that went into it, but to appreciate like what Damon Wayans put into it, because like this is very clearly coming from a place of appreciation, like you said, for that old Batman series. And like, how do you take a character or at least love for a property like that and then make it for your own community in a way that's accessible and still like keep your sense of humor intact and all these things that you've established throughout your career to this point, doing like In Living Color. So I really felt like it was actually a really solid entry into the superhero genre. And I think maybe because it is focused on being a comedy, that people probably don't even really consider it a superhero movie, would be my guess. And Metacritic has just, Mandela affected this thing out of existence. They don't even have a score for it. If you search it on Metacritic, it doesn't exist. So I had to go to Rotten Tomatoes, where it has a 12%, which, it's bad, but it's not the worst movie that I've talked about. So it's just interesting to see that from where I'm standing, like a lot of the jokes landed way better for me as an adult, because this really is like pretty raunchy for a PG-13 movie that is kind of capitalizing on kids. But realistically, like if you look at this, like I don't think the primary target audience is kids, even though as a kid when I saw it, I was probably 11.
Yeah, kind of the same. I'm like, I don't know why everyone I knew who watched and liked this movie was also a kid. It was like kids gravitated towards it. And I actually watched an interview of Damon Wayans doing press for it at the time, and he was saying that he thought it was okay. He was basically saying it was a good movie for kids to see, and it was like good comedy for them. Like he was like pitching it almost as if he wanted it to be considered a kids movie. So that was yeah, but when you really think about the jokes in it, like I know there's stuff that I didn't get at the time that I was like, oh, like yeah, certain things, and like yeah, it is raunchy at times, and it's yeah, I don't know, I'm not sure why it skews toward children so much, but it seems like that was my experience too. Was like it was me and my friend's movie, and my dad didn't know about it. So yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, we're introduced to a couple of kids, which is the young versions of Daryl and Kevin, I want to say their names are.
Yeah.
And so at that point, it's like, okay, this is a kids movie. You got two kids that grew up watching like Batman. They like to act it out. They sort of believe that this is possible. But then we very quickly move on to them as adults. And so there is a disconnect between, I think, this view of Batman from a child's perspective, that like you really believe that this kind of thing is possible. And that's really what the movie kind of locks in on and bases the entire premise around. But then beyond that, like it's an adult comedy after that. Like this movie's very horny, surprisingly horny. And I didn't remember that about it at all.
Me
And
neither.
I was
Me
like,
neither.
I was like, Dag is really like laying it on thick with Robin Givens here. And so to me, it seems like this ended up being sort of marketed incorrectly, more because the success of Batman is like you have kids watching that. So if you're going to make a superhero movie in the early 90s, you're not making a rated R superhero movie, because then really nobody's going to watch it. So at least like they were able to get this made, get it released. But there's a little trivia question that I'll circle back to that'll give us a little additional context there. But did you see this like when it came out? I mean, how far down the line after 94 when it released did you see this?
Okay, so I'm gonna say that I got I finally talked them into Columbia House in like 95, 96. You know what? It had to have been 96 because Independence Day was one of the movies. So it was at least 2 or 3 years after this came out. But thinking about it like in that, like the context of the time, it is interesting because like, so I kind of knew what In Living Color was. My parents watched it and they thought it was funny. And I remember certain parts of it, certain skits from it. Most specifically, I remember Jim Carrey from it because of Fire Marshal Bill and stuff like that. But 94 is a weird year for In Living Color because you have this movie and Keenan Ivory Wayans has a Low Down Dirty Shame, both of which did poorly. Like were not well received, did not do well at the box office. Then you have Jim Carrey with the weirdest year of all time, where he starts in like January with Ace Ventura, making like several $1,000s for that. By like July, he's in The Mask. By December, he's making 20 million for Dumb and Dumber. That's all one year. Like, it's insane the jump in Jim Carrey that have, but he kind of eclipses everybody from In Living Color. Well, J-Lo, but you know what I mean. In terms of the comedians, it is interesting like how like that show just, so there was a lot of movies that came out of that show this year, but like I feel like these kind of got overlooked. I haven't seen A Low Down Dirty Shame, but I like some of Keenan Ivory Wayans' other movies, so maybe I don't know if it's any good, but this one's
I only saw it once, and it was probably around the time that I saw Blankman, but I was 10 when this movie came out, and I had been watching In Living Color for a few years at the time, and that was always my preference to SNL. I wasn't an SNL kid growing up, so I was very much on board with like whatever these guys are going to do, like David Allen Greer especially. So to see like this kind of project come out, it wasn't the kind of thing where I was like, oh my God, Batman, right? But it was something where I don't think I went to theaters for it, but when it came out the next year on like cable home video release, I was very much on board with jumping right into it. And I mean, I hadn't seen it since the mid 90s, so I wasn't sure that it was really going to hold up either, but I was pleasantly surprised by how much I actually enjoyed it. So thank you for that. And I guess for the people listening at home or in the car or wherever, if there was, I don't know where people listen to podcasts. I listen to them when I'm walking or driving. But so from your perspective, like what would be the thing why would people say this is a bad movie?
Well, I guess now is a good time. I need to talk about my boys, Gene and Roger. Of course, I had to look up what they said because that's what I do. But so Siskel and Ebert, they were film Twitter and Rotten Tomatoes all in two people at that time. They just were like the beacons of film criticism and discussion at that time in America. So I watched their review. They actually both were kind of positive on it. Gene liked it more than Roger, but Roger basically said it has no third act and it kind of just falls, like it kind of just runs out. Which that's a criticism that I can't really. I kind of understand what he's saying. Like he's like it's funny for a while, and then eventually, but it does. There's no ending really to it. Like I mean, I think it kind of has an ending, but he's basically saying it needs more of a structure, I suppose, to its, to how it finishes.
Yeah.
But Gene was saying, well, the laughs are there enough that I can recommend it. So my guess would be that the reason why people would. It's hard to say. Like I don't know why. I feel like people just had no would get annoyed with silly comedies more than they should have at the time. Like you look back at some of these older movies that were legitimately funny, but kind of goofy. And it feels like people would act sometimes like the reviews would be like almost of a better than place. Like this is just beneath me. This is not fun, and by the time the Farrelly brothers come around, everyone's embracing stupid comedy and like these guys are geniuses. It's like, well, this kind of stuff has been here for not that this is as bad raunchy as the Farrellys by any stretch, but I feel like maybe it was ahead of its time a little bit, just because these self-referential jokes and stuff just maybe they just didn't land back then. I'm not sure. I mean, it's not the most rich thematically or like screenplay wise movie. It's not the best written movie ever, but it does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, and I think maybe sort of what you said, it was Ebert that said it doesn't have a third act. Yeah. So it kind of like backs itself into a corner where it's stuck between like being the comedy that it was, which is a superhero parody, which I think is really rich for a lot of the humor, and it works really well for the vast majority of it. And then you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, well, is this a superhero movie now or not? Because like you've got a villain, you've got a finale, like you either need to like get to the next gear and really give us a superhero story, or sort of like take that away and just stick to being a comedy at that point. And so I can see what he's saying there. Like towards the end, you don't really know, like, are these guys like really telling this story of these guys being heroes, or are they just like fuck ups in a world trying to be this? And so like, I think I just gave it more grace now as an adult looking back and being like, I understand what this movie is trying to do. I laughed throughout the majority of it. So I think it succeeds as a comedy. And then as like a superhero product, I was like, this isn't something that's trying to make a Blankman 2 or, they're not trying to franchise this. So it doesn't fall victim to the same burden as other superhero movies as we've become accustomed to them now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not obnoxious in that way. And I would also, that's what I'm calling superhero movies now, obnoxious. But it also has a weird thing toward the ending where there is a scene that feels like the ending where all the characters are together and there's some action or suspense going on, but everybody's in one place and you're like, okay, this is the end. Then the movie goes on 20 minutes longer and they all leave that area. So it's like, that was kind of weird. I was like, that seemed like that scene should have been somehow worked where that was the end of the movie. It felt that way to me. It felt like a climax, but then they keep going, and then they keep going to the worst possible crime ever, which is what happens to J5. But anyway, that's so sad. I was shocked at how sad I was at J5. I was really upset by J5.
The self-sacrifice, though, I was like, oh my! I wrote down in my notes. I was like, oh, poor J5. Like he really took one for the team here.
I just cannot believe. I just can't. The level that they wrote like to create J5 is like, okay, as we discussed, he is a hand crank washing machine that dispenses Diet Pepsi and can hold a ton of explosives somehow to diffuse it. Like, and the diffusing is just blowing up inside of him, and then the pom-poms for the hair. Oh, any shot of J5's POV, I laugh at. I think it's hilarious whenever they show. There's like maybe 5 shots in the movie where they show his point of view. yeah, it's pretty great every time. I remember J5 being in the movie, but when he turned the corner at the beginning and came in, I was like, I think I gasped. I was like, I was so excited to see him. It's been so long.
Yeah, and I also like that, this is sort of a reference to Johnny Five from Short Circuit. And so you get sort of a similar look around like the eyes. He has a personality, but I like that, like, sort of all the stuff that Daryl Blankman is making in this movie is all like, none of it is really technically high tech. It's like the super low tech versions of all these things. And J5 is like the most representative of that. Like you said, he's a washing machine. And for some reason, he's got Diet Pepsis. And I mean, if they're cold, I'll take a cold Diet Pepsi if J5 is around. So I can't really blame him for storing cold soda on hand. It's a nice little treat to have when you're, working hard, inventing and stuff.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm trying to think of spatially where those would go, but
where they're coming out of,
how they got in there and where they go with the explosives also. I was surprised also, like, I had forgotten about all the gadgets in the movie, but whenever they kind of came about, they like accessed some place deep in my brain from when I was a kid. I was like I remember the cereal thing, the little cereal contraption. Yeah. I remember the toothbrush, the thing that brushes his teeth, all that stuff. I was just like, it was like kind of cool to see again. But when you talked about like his versions or like the lo-fi versions of everything, I still think it's funny that he's got the fork on his glasses. Like, that's
right. You could make a helmet that brushes your teeth, but you can't just fix your glasses like a normal person. Yeah. You soldered it back together with a fork.
And the kid versions of them, they've got the same tape in the middle. By the way, whoever cast those kids was perfect. Like, those kids look so much like them, like Damon Wayans and David Allen Grier. That was great casting for those kids. But anyway, the kid version of Daryl still had the little tape in between his eyes on the glasses, and he may have had the fork. I did not notice if he had the fork. Not sure.
Well, there's a good reason that those kids were well cast, because that is Michael Wayans and Damon Wayans Jr.
Oh, Damon Wayans Jr. Okay.
Yeah. Nice. So I know when I saw him as a kid too, I was like, oh, he looks super familiar. And then now as I see his adult face, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's totally him. I get it. But yeah, those are his real sons playing the young versions of them. So nice little bonus trivia early. But I think now is a good time to look at the trailer, because I don't remember anything about this trailer, really.
I did not watch this. I'm excited to see it.
Before we get to that trailer, it's time for a quick word from our sponsor. Between the invisible radiation of cell phones, overprocessed foods, obesity, and a litany of newfangled prescription medications, male fertility is lower than ever. But if you're one of many men struggling with virility, there's a new hope thanks to Shootin' Blanks, the mobile male fertility specialists. At Shootin' Blanks, they're all about discretion. There's no nervous visit to the doctor's office, no awkward eye contact with strangers in the waiting area. Shooting Blanks comes straight to you thanks to their award-winning concierge service. They do their best to avoid surgical solutions so that your boys don't have to go under the knife. Every treatment starts off with a vigorous course of antibiotics to eliminate any potential underlying infection before applying their patented hormonal salve down under. And if that doesn't sound appealing, every treatment is capped off with a quick prostate massage to make sure everything is in working order. It's mobile motility at its finest. It's Shootin' Blanks. Because discretion is the better part of valor. Call for your free consultation today. And now, back to the show. Rolling. Okay, let's go.
In a city plagued with crime, when hope is gone and help is out of reach,
Please help me. Hey, get off the car, you bum!
only one man can stand in the way of evil.
Look! I'm a crime fighter!
No man
Get ready to rumble!
has ever been so bold. No crime fighter.
It's got like a prosthetic foot that he throws.
Yeah.
Want to try it again, pal? Why don't you shoot him in the head? Yeah! Shoot him in the head!
I did vividly remember that scene in the alley.
There's no
Yeah.
point in us all dying.
I'll never forget you, my love.
And no crusader has inspired so many.
It's a big world, and we all have to do our part.
Columbia Pictures presents
I have to make the world a safer place for my children.
You got to be with the woman first! You're a virgin!
Damon Wayans,
Please, call me Blankman.
Blankman. Now, stand back.
I do like the logo too. I think that holds up pretty well.
Yeah. That part is still
Because these
Right?
guys
I mean, you've got this moment of him like
are what the
ejaculating on
world's been
himself,
waiting for.
very prominently featured, even in the trailer.
and the movie ends with that too.
Yeah.
That's the last beat of the movie.
Damon Wayans,
Hang on, I'm coming down.
You're gonna have to deliver this baby.
Can't do that. We'll have to see her thing.
David Allen Grier,
Kevin, I can't. What? Talk claim to the buckle.
I would love to play with you, but now is not the time.
He even says like later, he's like, I was talking to my nuts.
J5,
Jamie. So I was talking to my Jamie.
Oh, that's
Serves me
right.
correctly. J5 should be gingerly on his way.
Best joke in the movie. The best joke in the movie.
Blankman,
Slapped me around and called me Susan.
That scream, man.
Yeah.
I warned you, Susan!
And he calls him Susan. They end with that too.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow.
That's a good trailer.
It is. I mean, it really gives you like everything that the movie's about. So
And it actually doesn't spoil all the jokes. Like there's good jokes in there, but there's a lot of other good jokes too.
yeah, I feel like it's really much more rich in the comedy than we get there. That basically tells us like, hey, it's a physical comedy. He's going to be kind of dorky or whatever, but there is a lot between the two of them as I think they're brothers. Are they cousins?
They're brothers,
right?
I think. Yeah. But it was weird to, I had to also reference an interview with Damon Wayans to find out how old they were supposed to be. I couldn't get a handle on their ages. I was like, just their conversations and him saying like, you have to be with a woman to make the world a better place for your children. There was just certain, I was like, I couldn't figure it out. And apparently Damon Wayans said he was playing him as a 30-year-old. So now we know
Okay.
that Daryl is 30. And I'm assuming that Kevin is a little bit older. He has older brother energy.
He does.
Yeah. So anyway, they're early 30s. I don't know. For some reason, I just could not. I couldn't figure out what age they were trying to telegraph that these guys were. But that's because it's not really in reality at all. So it's just kind of on that heightened level. The whole movie sort of is. So
Yeah, I think the idea was to sort of present them as adults that are probably too old to be living with grandma and
yeah.
having fantasies about being crime fighters. So in that way, I was like, okay, like I don't know how old they are, but this guy's like working at Heart Edition, like he's trying to climb his way up in the news business. So I'm like, he's probably at least in his like late 20s at that point. So I mean, like being 30 makes sense at least, and I think
Yeah.
it actually sort of makes Daryl's character a little bit more refined, if that makes sense. Like if he's too young, it's like he hasn't detached yet. So it's like he's at a place at 30 years old where it's like, look, you haven't even fixed your glasses, but you're busy inventing all this other stuff, having fantasies about going out in the world. And, you know, you accidentally created this bulletproof material for your costume, that kind of stuff. So they
Yeah.
establish that he's smart, but they also go out of their way to establish that he has like no relationship with the opposite sex. And it's kind of interesting to see that they brought in Robin Givens because it felt like her and Dag actually had like good chemistry opposite one another, even though like David Allen Grier is mostly being like pretty forward the whole time. Just like,
Yeah.
hey, let me get your number. Let's go out. Let's, you know, this, that. Like he's constantly on her trying to like get a date. And so to see that it's actually Daryl who ends up getting the date in that situation, she falls in love with him and etc. I mean, okay, a lot of that stuff is all like cliche, but I just felt like the chemistry between Dag and Robin Givens was really good. And then to sort of play that against the idea of like, oh, well, my brother is now the one who's getting the attention, but to not have that be this source of conflict between them, like, especially in the character models, like, because they're skewing a little bit younger, you could have easily gone through like, oh, Dag is jealous and he's gonna like do something to backstab David or Daryl at this point. So I'm glad that they didn't do that and they kept it in this place of like he's a little bit jealous, but he's also still like celebrating his brother's wins. So I like that about it.
Yeah, he's like incredulous that it's happening, but he's not mean about it. Yeah, he's sort of like, I see. That's funny that I was thinking the chemistry with like Robin Givens and David Unger was kind of like she just friend zones him so hard,
Yeah,
so early, and it doesn't help the talking to his quote unquote jammy scene. I wasn't talking to my jammy. That's just, I don't know why it's funny, but it is. When he's talking to his belt buckle and she thinks he's talking to his jammy. But
she
yeah,
just hands him the business card back and like, I've changed my mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say she didn't just walk away like most people would. She like comes in and goes, "No, fuck you. I'm not talking to you anymore." That was crazy. I was like, wow, she's very direct. But I thought she was good in the movie. Like she did a good job of like kind of playing the scenes almost with a smirk on her face. Like she was kind of like she'd just been laughing in the take before, but in this one she was holding it together. But it kind of made it charming in a way where it was like she gets that this is silly. I thought and at the time I had no idea who she was. I was like, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, I didn't realize she was like the woman that Barbara Walters famously asked Mike Tyson if he hits her while he was sitting next to her, like that crazy stuff. I was like, so I found out more about her after, I guess she wasn't in it like a ton of movies, but several, I think a few around this time. I think she was in an Eddie Murphy movie around this time.
Yeah, was that Boomerang?
Maybe it was Boomerang. Yeah. But yeah, like I thought I like the first scene with Blankman and is it Kimberly? Yeah. Where they're like, where she's kind of like, you can tell she likes him, she kind of kisses him. I remember thinking that I was going to find that more, I kind of bought it more than I thought I was going to. When I saw it coming, I was like, okay, yeah. But then it was kind of almost sweet in a way, like their relationship, the wear carnation, that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's kind of charming. It's better written than it has to be, I think, for a movie like this.
Oh, absolutely. And like, I found myself asking, like, is she really going to be into this guy? And then that's sort of like the inside joke, right? And I like that you mentioned like the way that she sort of portrays this character. She's got this look on her face, like she's in on the joke the whole time, like well before these other characters are brought up to speed, like primarily Daryl and Kevin. Like she's already one step ahead of them. She's like, I know you're a goofball and I know you're into me and I'll let you still be flirtatious, but this is just never going to happen. So she like you said, she shuts it down right away, but they still have really good dialogue between the two of them. It's fun to watch her sort of reject him and it's fun to watch him sort of pine after her in that way. And so by the time we get to the point where she's kissing Daryl and she doesn't really know who he is at that point, but she sees this person that is very different than everybody else. And does this take place in Detroit?
I think it's supposed to be Chicago.
Okay.
I thought I could be wrong. I thought it was supposed to be Chicago because there was Illinois plates a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get this like metropolitan area where she is, I mean, she's fairly high ranking. She's at least within her industry. She's on TV. She's like a night news anchor, right? So she has a lot of sway, a lot of pull within that realm. And you spend a fair amount of time dealing with Dag trying to sort of climb the corporate ladder, with her sort of helping him along the way out of necessity. And then also like she's the one who's pushing for Blankman to be a big story. So I like that you get this kind of environment where crime has run so rampant that it forces someone like Daryl to put on this like onesie and go out and be a superhero. And then when it comes down to sort of like news coverage, she's like, I want to show the good thing, not the murder of these old ladies who are running the election center, which like,
oh my gosh,
they kind of like, oh yeah, we're just going to mow them down with an Uzi and then we'll move on. We're not going to like really get into that too much. But that's why I was just like, this feels like it's way more adult than it is for kids. So to see that it was sort of like we have to straddle that line in order to even have a chance at being successful really maybe holds it back. But I think like the bones are there for this to be sort of like a really good absurdist superhero movie. And had it released like last year, like sort of on the back end of like everything that's happened at Warner Brothers now, everything that's happened with like the MCU and them going into streaming and sort of like their ratings going down and all that, to have this now is much more important than it was then. Because then it was like, okay, we're seeing the movies that came before us. We're going to be sort of like a parody of that, but it doesn't lend itself to like any further commentary about just the nature of this being part of like the film industry now. So
Yeah.
I think in watching it now, it just gave me a much deeper appreciation for what they were doing at this time. Because there's no way they could have been like, oh, yeah, like Disney's going to buy Marvel and then they're going to make 20 movies and they're going to all gross $1 billion kind of thing. So to have a position to speak from where it's like, we're just here to like have fun with having fun is a really nice thing to see again.
And also, like, at that time, I mean, this is probably what one of maybe 30 movies Sony probably released this year, like not even just like mid-level movies, not like no tent poles, you know, just like it was probably like their 20th comedy. Like, you know, at the time you could just, there were so many options available. But I was thinking, like, when I watched it this time, I did not remember that the grandmother gets murdered with an Uzi.
Right?
I did not remember that, and that took me by surprise. The grandmother, by the way, is awesome. She was on Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. I remember her from that. But anyway, yeah, like, so I would say the stuff with the grandmother's everything involving the guy running for mayor, I would say probably is not super well done. It's like, it's all kind of, it's okay, but it feels almost like it's unnecessary in this movie for some, like there's a lot going on, and you already have like, I'm trying to say, like, the villain, who I have to talk about him too, the guy is it Minnelli, who's like basically doing Danny DeVito as the Penguin, as a real person walking around in a city. I don't know. I felt like for a movie that was this funny and this light on its feet, the stuff involving the grandmother's death and the election stuff just seemed misplaced. And I also thought it was kind of eerie. Like the guy running for mayor is obviously supposed to be a good guy who's doing the right thing, but did you notice he had bright red election hats with white lettering on the front?
I did notice that. I said, "Oh," I was like, "Okay."
I was like, "Good Lord, what are we doing here?" But
I was trying to see what those hats said, but I couldn't quite make it out.
I couldn't either. I was trying to see. I was straining my eyes to see, but they were not in focus. But yeah, it's just such a silly movie that is shocking a little bit. The moments when it like throws you into hard reality. And man, that grandmother thing, that stays with you. That's really rough.
Yeah, because they go in and they like rob the election center. They take all the money, and then just like some other guy walks in without a ski mask on and just sprays them all with a Uzi, and it's just like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't really think you're gonna get that dark. And then the next scene is like at the funeral, like you're almost playing it up, and he's like sobbing, sort of like the histrionics of him crying and like snot bubbling, and even the way he gets handed the handkerchief by Kevin and he sort of like wipes his snot and then tries to give it back to him. Like, they don't really take that seriously. So it does have a weird like tonal imbalance of this thing of some sort of like social awareness of that. Like we said, this is set in like an urban city that has like a lot of Black main characters, and they're dealing with a lot of rampant crime. And you've obviously got like organized crime on the inside. You've got murders with firearms. So there is this commentary that is there, and it's just not necessarily the movie that you expect it to pop up in. Because if you look at something like The Mask, which I think was the same year, you've also got the organized crime, you've got the reporter who's investigating, who then turns on him and sort of is evil. But for some reason, The Mask, I think because of the the reality bending nature of The Mask and the fact that it's set, I think, in, I want to call it Edge City. I could be wrong about that, but because it's set in like a fictional town, like you get a little bit more malleability with these kind of concepts, and you don't have to like really marry yourself to any of it. So on the one hand, you don't need to really include all of this organized crime kind of stuff being behind the political curtain in this movie, but I do give them credit for including it because it's not something that kids are really going to pick up on, right? Because like I was saying with The Mask, like you can kind of just get the nature of like this guy's a villain. There's an even worse villain, and like there's bad guys that do bad stuff, and then there's like regular people that suffer, and you could have kind of left it at that here, but they really made an effort to give us a mayoral candidate who is fighting against corruption, and they make that very specific because they try and buy him off several times, and he says no. And then eventually, like, they blow him up with a bunch of C4, which I was like, oh, wow. They just let him
another
die.
moment that sticks out like a sore thumb in this movie when they blow up the mayor. Yeah.
And he's like, I'm just such a righteous man that, you know what? Save yourselves. He's like, there's time.
You did what you could.
Right?
You did what you could. Yeah.
But there's still a minute left on the clock. You don't want us to work on this? Like, no, get out of here.
Get out. Well, and yeah, I do understand that. Like, I think it is good in a way that they like, it does set up the need for Blankman.
Yeah.
Because the police aren't doing anything because they haven't gotten paid. You kind of have to set up why crime is that one shot of that car just running down the street with the boot on their car made me laugh too.
Yeah, just sparks everywhere.
Right before he's like, look at the crack house. He's like about to run in. Yeah, like just showing all the crime. Yeah, I think it's good for setting up like the plot. I was gonna say one more thing that I don't want to forget is like Blankman can set up. So I remembered very specifically that scene of him stabbing the knife into the shirt and it turning. I didn't remember what movie it was from, but I remember that image of something. And so he does that. I'm like, great. Okay. Bulletproof. But he doesn't make like a full head covering. I'm like, why wouldn't you just put on, it just drives me crazy. And then they kind of deal with it in the alley scene, but they kind of don't because
Shoot
he
him
gets
in the head.
I was like, yeah, what are they going to do with this? And then he just doesn't he get saved by Kevin's kick or something like that? Kevin kicks the gun. Who are all those people just watching in the alley? Some people just staying around watching this happen. They're not involved with these two people at all. And he says, call me Susan. And then he actually does call him Susan as he hits him. It's very silly, but very funny.
It's like a pimp who's accosting one of his hookers for like not paying him. And
tons of other people.
Yeah, I'm guessing maybe they're like pimps in training. They're pimp apprentices or something like that. Or maybe they're just a bunch of Johns. I don't know. But they seem to be on the side of this pimp guy. Yeah. And since you mentioned the costume, I think one of my favorite lines in the movie ends up being where he tells Kevin, like, I didn't bulletproof your costume. Like, why? Yeah. Why did you bother making me a costume at all to not like just give it the same treatment you gave your own?
Yeah, because he's like begging them to shoot him. He's like, come on, shoot me. Well, yeah. Why? Yeah, that does. I don't know.
It was
poor Kevin.
Yeah, I do like the delivery of that line in that moment, though, because it's like Blankman is in the process of action and he doesn't have time to like even protect Kevin. He's just like warning him, like, nope, don't mess with that. I didn't have time to bulletproof your costume, so don't get too aggressive here. But like the tone of this movie, like at the very outset, is very particular. Like if you're not on board right away, it's going to be tough because we get them watching Batman and stuff, and you sort of like understand that these are two kids that love this character and that they're like immersed in this world. And then when they start flooding the house trying to get reception on the TV, grandma comes over and starts whooping their ass, and they give us like the Batman graphics of the kapow boom, like they layer that over the top of these instances of like child beating, and it's like, okay, this is the movie right here. And then right after that, she's like yelling at some guys outside who are beating up a dude out in the trash can, and they yell up, they're like, shut up, you crusty old bitch. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, okay, so there's no tolerance for like an old woman. This woman has no tolerance for her like kids flooding the house, and you just have to go full bore right away. I mean, she's teasing Dag about like being really quick in bed. Like
Yeah.
right away. Like we see him as an adult. He's trying to sneak a girl out of the house, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're so like you were done so quickly, but you're so loud," something like that. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, grandma is like very, very immersed in like everything that's going on in their life, and she doesn't deal with any bullshit. But she's a great character for that reason.
He also zings the Manelli guy. The when he's like, hey lady, life is short. As after he walks in and like is an asshole in the
Oh yeah.
campaign office, and she's like, "So must be that thing in your pants." And he turns around and gives her that long look. It's like a too long of a look. You're like, "What's this?" And you're like, "Oh, this is setting up that he's going to have her murdered." Crazy sentence to say about this movie,
Right.
Yeah,
She
that's what that
insults
was
his
setting.
dick, and then he's like, "Well, this old lady's got to go."
Yeah, she's got to go. Well, also that one scene where she's like yelling at the guy in the alley, and he says, "Shut up," and then she says, "That must be your mama you're talking about," when he says, "You crusty," and then she throws the jar down there, and she hits the wrong guy. Did you
Yep.
notice that? She hit
Yeah,
the
she
guy
hits
who
the
was being
civilian.
beaten up. Yeah, it was just like a little, like a very small thing, but it was just funny. I was Have you ever seen any of the other movies that this guy Mike Binder made? That directed it.
I don't know. Let me take
I've
a
only
look.
seen two. He may have made more, but he made a movie called Indian Summer that came out the year before this. That was another one I just remember from childhood because it was just. I feel like I saw every movie that was PG-13 because I wasn't allowed to see R-rated movies. So it was way too over. Like it's about like a group of 30-year-olds who go back to their camp that they were at when they were like 20 years ago and spend a weekend. It's got a good cast like Diane Lane and Bill Paxton and Kevin Pollak. Much people are in it, but it's pretty good. Like a pretty good. It's not like this. It's more like it's more almost like The Big Chill if it were like a comedy, like or more of a comedy. It's very character based and like realistic and yeah, and kind of sweet in a way. Like this movie is so different in the way it does its comedy that I thought it was kind of an interesting pivot to change to this. Although this is written by Damon Wayans and somebody else. But so it's obviously their baby. But
Yeah.
and then he made a movie in like 2002 or so called The Upside of Anger, which is sad. Like Joan Allen, and she's a widow and she's an alcoholic, and it's just I remember being like really kind of a downer. So he just has like a strangely varied career of these movies. Some have hints of comedy, but some are like kind of weirdly dark. And maybe because of his darkness, he was the one who leaned into the murders in this movie.
Right. I've heard about The Upside of Anger. I know the name, and Indian Summer and Reign Over Me, but I haven't seen any of them.
I have not seen Rain Over Me, but is that Adam Sandler? I remember the previews for it. I think
That's 2007.
Is it Sandler and Cheadle? Am I
Yeah.
thinking of the right
And
movie? Okay.
Jada.
Okay.
Oh no, maybe I have seen this one.
I think he's like a homeless man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike Binder is also in the movie, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. He plays the therapist.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's good to see like, hey, some mental health portrayal, at least like on screen at that time in the 90s. It was kind of like frowned upon, and they have fun with it and that. But
the Rorschach test, that's like all they could do back in the time. I think they were like, yeah. What images are you seeing on these inkblot tests?
It's like concepts weren't familiar enough for the audience to know anything other than kind of like the basics. So it's like, all right, well, you show them an image. I mean, it was in Batman too, I think. It was one. When did that one come out? The Val Kilmer one. He sees Nicole Kidman as a shrink in that movie.
95.
Yeah, so the year after this, they're using basically the same exact technique to be like, oh, well, you're seeing a therapist. Well, obviously you're doing inkblot tests. And I mean, I've been in therapy a few times and I've never done a Rorschach test. So
yeah,
just the easiest, most digestible way to be like, oh, you're having therapy right now and you've got some demons. So let's see what you see.
Right. And it's like always the joke is I'm trying to remember. There's definitely a movie where the joke is that they're seeing the most complicated things possible out of the simplest stuff. Like he's sort of doing that in this, but I think there's an even worse one where like it's like two dots on a page and they're seeing like the craziest stuff. I'm trying to remember what movie that was, but I can't. But Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I am surprised that the movie even included a scene of him taking to a therapist to talk over his problems.
Court mandated therapy, nonetheless, wasn't it?
Um,
He's like they were like they arrested him and they said, okay, like you can take him home, but you have to take him to see a shrink. And then we get in that
that's what it
moment,
is. Forgot
and
about
it's
that.
like I think what I like about that scene though is that they go there with this notion that the guy who puts on the suit and wants to fight crime is the crazy one. And then in the investigation of that moment, we really see that like Dag is the one who is struggling and that it seems like he's the one who's crazy. And of course, like, Daryl is lying and not acknowledging that he's Blankman in that moment. But I think, at least to me, it speaks to this thing of like the person wanting to do good, whether it be, the way that he's doing it, or in an example from this movie would be like trying to get the right mayor elected for the town. I think we see that like the person who wants to do the good thing is not viewed as the crazy person here. And I think we get that a little bit from Robin Givens' character as well, as she sees him as like this light for the city that needs this kind of character. So kind of interesting that, David Allen Grier is very like grounded. He's very much realistic about things, in that like, hey, this is a crack house, don't go into the crack house, it's super dangerous. He's almost resigned to the fact that they cannot change anything in the environment that they live in, and he would rather just like get by safely and try to like get them out of that neighborhood, rather than we get Daryl's character who wants to like fix the neighborhood. So I kind of like that dichotomy more than I thought I did when I was watching it.
Yeah. The one thing that I the scene that I did not remember in this movie that I'm shocked I didn't like, it's so memorable. I did not remember anything about the pregnant lady in the elevator.
Oh, and the speculum of life.
The speculum of life. That was when you brought up that the movie's kind of inappropriate. That was the first, like, I was like, that whole scene is crazy. Like, I can't, just the fact that it was written is crazy.
Yeah.
But everything about that moment is wild, and it just comes out of nowhere, because they're just like, they're trying to do their neighborhood watch, right? And some girl comes up and goes, there's a lady stuck in my elevator in my building, and then they go in and she is like having a baby right then. And then there's, I mean, it's got funny lines within it, like the one that was in the trailer where he's like, I'll have to see your thing. But then when after the baby's born, he goes, I'm a father.
Nobody corrects him.
No. And the fact that once everything's done, and he's like hanging there like Batman kind of, and she goes, what's your name? And Daylon Grier, who's standing right next to this woman, like right next to her, says, he's gone blank, ma'am. Like, clearly says those words. And she goes, blank, man. Like, she hears it as, it's like, they needed like some more noise going on in the background or something to make it clear why she thought he said blank, man. Because it was like, he was right next to her and he says, he's gone blank, ma'am. Like, he has a pause and everything. So that was wild. But
yeah, and she's holding like a newborn baby too. You could have easily been just like, let's have the baby crying a little bit. So, I mean, they're obviously not focused on those tiny details. They're busy trying to execute a scene where this guy has to lubricate the speculum and then insert it into the elevator doors and crank it open. But again, it's like, wow, Daryl really had the foresight to like build this crank machine out of some tools that he stole from the gynecologist's office.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of his stuff is junk, right? And so we see that when
that's a great line
money,
too. Sorry, when he says it's junk, and she goes, but it's great junk. I like that line. That was good. But go ahead.
It is great junk, and I think one of my like favorite takeaways from it this time is that the production design for all the junk is really good. I mean, granted, like J5 is very janky, all of his tools, his like, motorized nunchucks, like all the stuff that he uses is very like janky designs, but somebody still had to actually design all of these things that's, pretty low tech versions of these, higher end items that he envisioned. So just the foresight to do those kind of things. Like I found that the what is it, the Blankwheel? I called it, I was
Blankwheel,
like,
yeah.
yeah, the Blankwheel is really cool. You get a motorcycle that rides along the train tracks in the city. Like that's a really nice vehicle for a superhero, regardless of it being Blankman or anybody else. It seems like something that Batman would have.
That might be my favorite, or my biggest laugh in the movie is when he's like, it's rush hour. There's a speeding train right behind me. Jump on. Don't be afraid. And so she's about to jump on. He goes, "Don't touch the third rail, or you're dead." The way he says that is so good. And then he's like, "Come on," but "Don't touch the third rail, or you're dead" is just as he's trying to convince her to jump on, as a speeding train is right behind them. It's just too good. I love that. But yeah, I like the blank wheel. I've forgotten about that gadget, but like as soon as he's on it, the joke about where she's trying to talk to him and he has to keep stopping. That's not a great joke for me. It's okay, but I just they milk it a little too much.
Little.
Yeah, I was like, okay, all right, stop talking. You know what's going on. Like you get what's going on. Yeah, just shut up, Kimberly.
Yeah, I mean, like I like the first time, okay, and then maybe even the second time, but then it's like maybe even I think they do it like a third and maybe even a fourth time, and like to the point where the train is like literally about to run them off the track. And then finally it's like, okay, let's just hit the gas and go. And then they're about to get into that same joke again when Dag hops on the wheel and he's like super impressed by it too. Cause I think they've all sort of written him off as like a wannabe do-gooder. And so to be in a position where they actually like see his potential and recognize it is something that I think is actually really rewarding in this movie, because you are faced with this world that doesn't believe that like a person like this can exist, let alone make a difference. So then when they're kind of confronted with the fact that some of his gadgets work, some of the things he's doing actually work, they're actually like really surprised in a positive way. And it's maybe not the core of the film, but it stuck out to me this time watching it because, you know, it had been 20 something years.
Yeah. Yeah, like even the functionality of like when they're toward the end in the in the glass cage about to drown. He's like J5 gingerly on his way. Great joke. J5 is just rolling his way down the steps, but just that he can come in and has like a tool to like pierce through the glass to like let the water out. Just all that stuff like. And then of course the belt is cool too. The belt, like where you can communicate, and it's got the tracking device made out of like a can of Spam. Yeah, the gadget stuff all works really well. It's all really funny, and it's all kind of like it makes you nostalgic for. You just don't see stuff like that. I feel like anymore in movies, like that kind of. I don't even know if it's creativity. It's just like a level of like. I don't even know what you would say, but like it feels 80s to me. It feels like a remnant of the 80s, like a weird science Back to the
Yeah.
Future type. Yeah, I just think that they just completely phased out eventually in the 90s, I would say. That kind of gadgetry that is fun to experience again.
Yeah, and we went to the Back to the Future, what was it, like 40th, 35th anniversary, something like that. Back to the Future Day. They showed it in theaters, and it's like you see that like I mean the DeLorean was basically like a junk car when
Mhm.
that movie was made, and then he turns it into a time machine. So it was this sort of like repurposing of trash into treasure that just doesn't seem to exist in the same way. We got more fascinated with like the James Bonds of like, ooh, like he's gonna shoot rockets out of his headlights and his watch has got a garrote in it and he's gonna strangle somebody, or it's got a laser beam shooting out of it. So we like all those gadgets are really cool too, but in this we get to see like literally he's, you know, turning garbage into like functional weaponry. And I think there is something to be said for that in the character design at the very least, because it's one thing to sort of show us the application of the tool, but they took the time to be like, here is the item, here's an explanation of what it is, what it does, and it just sort of like foreshadows later in the film like why these things are going to be important. And I like that it took the time to do that here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, what was the one I forgot about was at the beginning when he's working in the shop and is it the fly catcher? What
Yeah.
was that? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's like, you have to watch out or it'll try to chase you around. And he ends up breaking everything in the lab. But that's what gets him like on the track with the bulletproof, I believe, when he
Hmm.
spills that stuff. Yeah. So it all kind of ties in. I was curious if you so I kind of touched on this a minute ago, but talking about Minelli, played by an actor named John Polito,
Hmm.
everything about his performance to me, like everything, body language, the way he slowly raises up from the ground, like
Yep.
it's all Danny DeVito as the penguin, just without the costume. Even
Yep.
at the end when he rolls him into the paddy wagon, like the way he's like legs kick when he goes like when he goes in backwards, like it's so penguin-esque. I just was like, I mean, I understand that I okay, so if it's based on the old Batman, I understand basing a character sort of like that penguin, but that penguin is very different from Dan DeVito's actual penguin character. I feel like that's what that guy was leaning on for inspiration. I may be the only person who thought that, but I was wondering if you had any if you got any parallels there
Oh no,
between
he definitely is the Penguin. Like in
it
in
felt
this
so
in this
penguin.
world where Daryl is Batman and Kevin is Robin, this guy Michael the Suit Manelli
Mhm.
is certainly the Penguin. And
Yeah.
honestly, like I was super jealous. I was like, his vest and tie combos are fantastic. Like they really made sure to like dress him up and coordinate his outfits in a way that they didn't have to. Like, you could have just dressed him like a regular, like, mob boss, give him a nice suit, have it match and be coordinated. But he's got some like floral patterns. He's got some paisley ties and pocket squares. Like, they really did a nice job with that. And so I can see if I didn't even notice this in the movie, but I see here that the character name is listed as the suit. And I don't necessarily remember that being said explicitly as like, his trademark as a crime boss is that he loves fashion kind of thing.
I'm trying to remember for some reason I feel like I can remember in the Daryl cadence saying like the suit, but I don't know if I'm making that up myself. But yeah, like I mean, his fashion was on point. You're right about that. He's just like, I don't know, like his henchmen too, or like the guy who came in and shot the ladies up. Like that man looks so familiar to me. I need to look up that guy because I feel like he had to have been in like a Seagal movie or something like that. Like he just has that face. He's like one of those guys, one of those villains from all the late 80s, early 90s movies, I feel like. So I need to look him up.
Was it Mr. Crud or was it Tony the Match?
Let me look. I gotta see. Now I have to see.
I
Let's
mean,
see.
those are good henchman names though, I gotta say. It might have been Joseph Salo. He was Tony the Match. That seems like the kind of guy you would send to kill an old lady.
I think it was Tony the Match. Yeah, like I just all these character actors from back in the day, like I miss that too. Like just seeing like there'd be like a deep bench of actors and they're all people you would see like the guy who played Gay Man on the TV, the Greg Kinnear hosted talk show that
Right?
shows
Oh
at one
my
point.
god.
That guy was in so much stuff. Like he was in I remember he had a part in another movie that I liked that probably qualifies for your show called Clean Slate with Dana Carvey.
Mm.
Uh a detective movie that's a lot of fun, but some people hate, and I don't think it did very well. Anyway, but yeah, just guys like that, it would show up in so much stuff.
That's Kevin West. Yeah, he was in Junior, Gone in 60 Seconds. He was in the
I think he's
93
in a
Super Mario Brothers movie.
house guest.
Yeah, Pursuit of Happiness. I mean, that's probably like some highbrow stuff in comparison to a lot of other these
He's
credits.
probably in only movies that qualify for your podcast. No, just kidding.
Maybe you'll have a whole month just dedicated to him.
To Kevin West.
Yeah. But yeah, you mentioned like Greg Kinnear and this like Jerry Springer like show that we've got. This
Hmm.
is actually Greg Kinnear's feature film debut.
Was he on E yet? I wonder if he was doing Talk
Yeah,
Soup yet.
that's a good question. This is 94. I want to say yes. Because it seems
Yeah,
like he
maybe.
had that run up until probably like 91 and 96,
Yeah.
somewhere in that range. But yeah, to see that he like is just kind of like thrown away in the background of this movie, and to think of just like, I mean, we did Mystery Men for September, where Greg Kinnear is a main character in that film. And so to see this, not 4 or 5 years before Mystery Men, and then to see like where his career trajectory ended up, it's kind of crazy to think that he started where we're not even on set with them. We're not in the audience. Like, this isn't a scene that takes place inside the studio where this show is happening. This is something
Right.
that was filmed and put on a TV in the background, but went through the trouble of having like Midget Man, Gay Man. And I was like, I just was laughing. I was like, this segment is nuts. The fact that
Yeah.
they decided to include this in the movie, first of all, and then put it in the movie the way that they did, just a very, very inspired choice.
And Tony Cox as
Yeah.
yeah.
Midget Man.
Yeah. But like the weird thing about the Greg Kinnear thing is it would have had to have been on TV because the next year, 95, I think, is the Sabrina remake, and he's like the third lead in that.
Mm.
So it's like he had to, yeah, I bet he was big on TV at that point because all of us, like the next couple years, it's like Sabrina, then Oscar nominated for As Good as It Gets really soon after that, the next year, if not 2 years. Like, it's crazy how fast he kind of blew up there, like as far from TV to movies, because people didn't really do that back then. Actually,
Tough.
As Good as It Gets is a good example because Helen Hunt was one of the only other few to do that, go from TV, big TV success to movies.
Yeah, what was her show? Mad About You?
Mad About You, yeah.
Yeah. That was a
I
good one.
remember.
I watched
I
that
think
back in
I
the
think
day.
my parents used to watch it, and I would like catch it once in a while. But it's one of those
Didn't-
ones like you used to see in syndication, but not anymore. Like,
Yeah.
it just kind of has gone away. Syndication's gone away in general.
Yeah. I mean, I mostly watched it in syndication, but didn't they bring it back like a reboot of it like a year or
They
two ago?
did. I forgot about that. They did
Never-
try to bring it back, and I don't know how it did. I'm guessing it's not around anymore.
Not
but-
well enough because we have no idea what we're talking about.
Well, now we've got a Frasier where
Oh my god.
somebody pointed out. I heard them talking about the new Frasier, and they were just saying like, this is how poorly researched the new Frasier thing is. He plays like Frasier as always. He's hanging out with his son, who his son is
Okay.
now like the version of his dad who like loves sports and drinks beer. And Frasier is hanging out with his son and his friends, and he's complaining that everybody keeps pronouncing Celtics wrong because they're talking about the sports team.
Mhm.
He thinks it should be, the traditional pronunciation of Celtics. Somehow this is forgetting that he spent so many years of his life in a bar in Boston, a sports bar in Boston. Frasier was in Cheers so
Right.
much, like he knows who the Boston Celtics are, and he knows why they're not. It's just, yeah. I was like, that makes me just want to check out on that reboot anyway. But I wish they would reboot Blankman.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I think the soil for Blankman is pretty rich. And I think at the time that it came out, it was just in a tough spot. I'm glad that, Damon Wayans got to do this. And I mean, he had to commit to this role in a way that I think few actors could, because he's playing this from such like a childish adult perspective. Like, he can't break. Everybody else around him can be normal, but like if he breaks at any point, like the whole thing is thrown out of whack. So to commit not only to like write this story and to sort of like shape this into a kind of Batman story for this neighborhood in Chicago or Detroit or wherever, but to then like give yourself over to the role in this kind of way is really impressive. And I don't know if he's maybe a name that gets as much credit as he deserves, especially coming out of In Living Color.
Yeah. Well, I was curious. I just looked it up because I forgot to look it up before, but I was curious when this was released because I was like, at what point did this come out? Like, what was it opening against? Not only was it the same year as Jim Carrey's year, I guess it would be impossible if you release a movie in 1994, it's impossible to avoid Jim Carrey. But it's only 3 weeks after The Mask came out, and The Mask is a huge hit. So
Yeah.
if you're looking, and like, it's kind of slim pickings as far as comedies go. So it's like it probably got overshadowed by I mean, this is the summer that like Forrest Gump randomly takes over, and no one can believe that it like lasts forever. But I'm like, The Mask probably is taking over like so much of it's siphoning off a lot of the audience that might go to Blankman if it was positioned elsewhere. But it's just crazy to look through this list of these movies. Like I remember that most of these movies, and you're just like, this doesn't happen anymore. There's
It
never
doesn't.
four movies released on one weekend that are all just like happy to make $30 million. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it seems like the whole model has kind of changed. Like, and we saw it this year too, especially where it was like, hey, the Taylor Swift concert movie wasn't even supposed to be a thing. And then it's like, hey, we're coming to this release schedule. And then you've got these other movies that are like, fuck, clear out. And then I
Yeah.
think especially,
Exorcist.
yeah, I mean, not like there's going to be the same audience anyway, but you look at like sort of how this summer was structured, and it's like they all sort of just like had a week. And I think the studios sort of worked with each other in the way that like cable providers did over the last, I don't cable's not really a thing anymore, but how like Spectrum or Charter would have the Southwest, and then Cox Cable would have the Southeast. And so regionally you would only have like the single cable provider so that there was no competition. And then that kind of became the model with films. I mean, you know that when a Marvel movie is releasing, if you're a movie that is going to attract some of the same audience, you don't want to compete. So you just let them have their window and you like go into the shadows, or you go to limited release and then just jump straight to VOD or something. So it is crazy to think that there was a time not all that long ago where you could just release good movies in the same week and like let the audience see them and make their own decisions about it, rather than sort of like colluding the industry into propping up your box office numbers. Because it's like, oh, hey, the Marvel movie is releasing this weekend, we don't want to compete against that. And then that becomes the only option because the theater knows that this is going to make money, so we're going to put that in IMAX, we're going to put it in Dolby, we're going to put it in Prime, we're going to put it in whatever other premium formats we can, and just milk the shit out of that. So our 16 screen theater, half the screens are showing the Marvel movie, and then the other half are showing stuff that like is still sort of barely earning money at that point.
Yeah, that was sort of the problem with Mission Impossible, I believe. Like basically, I think the consensus was they should have pushed it back to earlier in the summer. He
This
tried to
year?
compete. Yeah.
Yeah.
He tried to compete Dead Reckoning Part 1. First of all, I think the movie didn't do well because it's called Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Yeah.
If you're I think any movie that, I mean, I get that's better to me than trying to trick people like Spider-Man did, Spider-Verse did.
Yeah.
But but I mean I think if you just seeing a title Dead Reckoning Part 1 kind of makes a certain group of people just check out. So like I want to see a completed story if I'm going to a movie. And that is, but it's a great movie. It's very good. But um yeah, he was stubborn and wanted to compete with like well, Barbenheimer, which
Mhm.
I think probably I don't think anyone thought it was going to be quite as big as it was. Barbenheimer. I mean,
Yeah,
people thought it would
it
be a
was like
big
a
deal.
joke, and then it was like the joke got so popular that everyone was like, "Well, I'm gonna see both of these." And I was like, "Well,
Yeah.
amongst our group of friends in the film club, we generally, see all these things anyway." So it was kind of interesting to see it just like spiral into this big thing. And then yeah, there was the pissing contest with, "You're not going to release my movie in IMAX because Christopher Nolan has sort of bullied you into monopolizing IMAX with Oppenheimer." So I think they did delay it by like 2 weeks, or they bumped it up 2 weeks. I can't remember exactly which.
They bumped up Mission Impossible, yeah, a week or 2, but from what I was, like from what I was reading, they were saying, like, it probably would've been better if he had just said, "We'll release it earlier in the summer to give it more time." Because actually, I think it was a week. I wanna say Mission Impossible: The Ring might have come out the week before Barbenheimer, which is wild, and then but I mean, of course, still the numbers you look at when you see that Mission Impossible, quote, unquote, "failed," it did, like, huge numbers, but in comparison to yeah, it's just an annoying model now. Everything's got to be like the biggest movie ever. And like you said, if you want your movie to avoid a Marvel movie or a superhero movie, good luck because they're out every 2 weeks almost. That's an
Yeah.
exaggeration, but they're constantly coming out. I mean, now I think they're finally getting to the point where people aren't buying tickets as much. So they're like, oh shit, we're gonna have to do something else because people are getting fatigue of superhero movies, basically.
Yeah,
I've had
and
that fatigue my whole life, but except
yeah,
for
and it's
Blankman.
and it's like I like superhero movies. I still go and see them, but I can also be like, hey, I wish there was more of these other things that I could see as well. Because when I'm really like pimping out my A list and my movie pass, it's like I could be seeing like 15 to 20 movies in theaters a month. And there's been a couple weeks this year where I'm just like, I've seen everything that's actually out at the theater. So what do I do now? Like, I just have credit. I can't really do anything with it. I don't want to see any of these movies a second time. And then the indie theater is like beholden to the big releases too. So they're like, well, we have to, dedicate screens to the big stuff. So they're not really giving me as much variety as I would like either. And I think there is room for like all of these things to sort of be able to eat and eat well. I mean, if you look at just total like box office receipts, I don't think there's any slowdown of people going to the movie theaters.
Yeah. No, and like, yeah. And well, it's funny that you said that because like I feel like that's so much of the year that feeling you said where you're like, I don't really want to see. I mean, in your case, you've probably seen them already. I have the feeling where I'm like, I don't really want to see these big movies. Like, I feel like I'm wasting money sometimes on like A list. But then it's this time of the year where I feel like I make my money back because they start finally releasing the movies. Like, there'll be like 3 movies released at once that'll be like all Oscar contenders, quote unquote. Like movies are supposed to be good. So I just like load up on those during this time of the year to feel like I'm not wasting my money. But weirdly enough, the small indie theater here, which doesn't have like an A-list type thing. I mean, you can get a membership, but they've been playing Taylor Swift on the weekends too. They had to do it too. I'm not sure how that worked out, but I mean, good for them. They made money, but it's just like I was surprised to see that they were also opening up Thursday through Sunday to Taylor Swift, which is a fine concert film. I didn't even rate it on Letterboxd. I didn't even know what to star rate it. I was like, I'll give it a heart and say this is good. I liked it, but I don't know how to star rate that concert. I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's just a concert.
Yeah, I had a good time. The crowd was lively.
Yeah.
It felt like a very good concert to film and put on camera because of like SoFi Stadium being a nice venue in general to look at, and it having like the ability to build this big ass stage out and do all these kinds of ideas they wanted to do visually. So like we have tickets to the Pantages, so we see a lot of stage shows in general. So from that perspective, like the production design of their show, I was very impressed, and we saw it in Dolby, so the sound was great and everyone was having a good time. So I had fun.
Yeah, it was yeah, I'm just like, I didn't this show came here, my sister saw it in person and she was like, I didn't, I mean, I like Taylor Swift, okay, but I wasn't going to go to the movie, but she was like, she wanted to go and she was like, you really need to go, this show's great. So I went, and yeah, it was enjoyable. I didn't really have the experience of having a rowdy theater, which I don't know if that makes it better or worse. The people in my theater were pretty respectful, everybody just kind of sitting there with their hands in their laps watching. But yeah, I saw it could have been a lot more. I feel like they should have done like they do in LA where they have rowdy screenings of certain movies.
Yeah.
Like I heard like they had a rowdy screening when Cats came out, and that would have been fun, I think.
Oh yeah, that probably would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen that.
Oh, it's hilarious and terrible, but
Yeah.
but weirdly compelling. I don't know how to explain it. Like I didn't really know how to rate that one either. I was like, I know this is bad, but I kind of enjoyed it. In a weird way. So yeah,
well, you've come to the right place for that. I know Sean loves cats as well, so maybe I'll bring him on for a cats episode at one point in the future. But to Blankman for now. You want to do some trivia on Blankman?
Sure.
Do it. All right.
For trivia.
Let's see. Okay. All right. Question number 1. Which video game system does J5 have installed for his cartridge updates?
I'll say Sega Genesis.
Ding ding.
Is that right?
It is right. I know they don't ever actually like show the system, I don't think, but they show Damon with a cartridge in his hand that he's like uploading new information into J5 to turn him into the bomb defusal unit or whatever.
I was like, this must be in a deleted scene. I was like, I know this wasn't in the movie, but I'm just guessing around the time period. Yeah, there we go. There you go.
All right. Question number 2. We talked about Damon Wayans had written the script with J.F. Lawton, but J.F. Lawton had originally written a version of this script as Fartman for which talk radio personality?
Howard Stern.
That's right.
Sorry.
2 for 2.
Sorry, I cut you off. I didn't mean to.
Oh, it's fine. I
I
was
broke
like,
I broke the Alex Trebek rule.
well, I was like, do I put Fartman in there or not? Because it'd probably be a little slightly trickier question without that, but it's fine. But yes, it was originally worked for Howard Stern. So again, like when we talk about sort of the raunchiness, like the rated R foundation for this film, I think it probably would have been pretty rated R, and some of the raunchy humor that we get in this about like the orgasms and like him hitting on
Speculum.
Robin Givens. Yeah, the speculum of life. Those kind of things I think were really more for Howard Stern's audience than they were for Damon Wayans' audience, but I like that they were able to embrace it in a way that sort of like found that happy medium. Question number 3, third and
That makes
final
a
question.
lot of sense, actually.
Right.
Like that makes sense why it was this way. Why so many things in this movie are this way. I understand now.
Yeah, I kind of want to see a Fartman movie now that exists like in the universe of Blankman, but you
Yeah.
know, I don't think we're gonna get that.
They join forces.
But question number 3, it says there are clocks in the hard edition office set to different times. One is Chicago, so I guess the movie was Chicago. One is Hoboken, New Jersey, and the third one is what?
Oh, okay. So it'd be somewhere on the West Coast. Let's say San Francisco.
You would think so, but it's actually set to Miller time.
Oh. Nice.
And so that's where we get Jason Alexander in his bald cap and his wheelchair. As I mean, there's a scene where there's a couple with him, but the one that sort of like made me chuckle was I think it's David Allen Greer. He sits down in it was Minnelli. He sits him down
Walk with me when he
in the
says walk
office
with me.
Yeah, and he drags him in the office chair with his wheelchair. I was just like, oh my God, this is so like subtly funny, but in a way that really, I don't know, like I should be laughing at this or not. I mean, it's meant to be funny, but I don't know that I'm supposed to think that's as funny as it is.
I wrote that down too, and he says, "Take a walk with me." He sits on the chair and then he pulls it along. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, because it just like it really, without like hitting you over the head with it, it's like this is who this character is, and this is like his personality type, and it was just like a nice little subtle thing they did in the background to really like punch that up. And I mean, Jason Alexander is very good at being just like the kind of smarmy prick he is in this, and when he gets all that hot coffee poured in his crotch and it's just he's like, don't you see that I'm sitting in a wheelchair? I'm paralyzed from the waist down. I can't feel anything. And then he gets smacked around in the face a few times and eventually
Felt
yeah.
that. Yeah. Did you notice? I was going to say real quick, when we went in the hard edition office, I paused it to see what the board of stuff was. So that was when they were throwing the darts to figure out what the story would be, because they didn't
the
have
stories
a
to
story
make
there.
up based on these random topics they have listed.
Certain things were repeated. Public spanking was on there twice. Nude hay rides was on there twice. Just certain things just kept. The Pope was on there a couple times. Like just it was just funny to pause. Like it was a gag just for like a quick glimpse and move on. But it was funny to pause it and go through all the crazy stuff they had on there. But
the props guys and the production team really had to be like, well, what would be the crazy stories that we see in the Globe, right? Oh, Pope has nude hayride with alien abductee kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I want to say there was we talked about J5 a little bit, but there's a moment later in the film. It's like they're in the office building at the time, like they're dealing with like the final conflict, and he's coming down the hallway and they're running with him, and they go around the corner and like there's just a random arm sticking out from around the corner. So they didn't take the time to edit out the guy who is like there to catch the robot as he like turns the corner, because I imagine like they had to remote pilot it some way, and so you've got Dag and you've got Damon running down the hall and turning the corner, and there's just this arm sticking out at the very end as they're turning the corner, like they're about to grab the robot because it's like maybe it doesn't turn all that well kind of thing. And I was just like, oh wow, I was like, they didn't even take time to edit that out.
I need to do I still have it? because I also rented it for $4, and I think I had it for 48 hours. I might still have it. I'm definitely gonna go back and watch this.
We're at the end of that 48 hours right now.
Yeah, I gotta see it. Like that is, I love the shit like that. Like there was somebody pointed that out to me recently. Like I was watching. Do you remember The Great Outdoors?
Mhm.
The scene where the bear busts in and starts like havoc in the thing. Like you can see like the trainers like stick like banging, like get hitting the bear to get him riled up when he's supposed to roar. It's pretty funny. Like I love shit like that. So I'll have to go back and watch it. Look for that arm to catch J5.
And then there was one other thing that, well, there's a couple other things that I just don't want to forget about. One of them is that you've got Blankman creating all these devices, and one of them is like a fart weapon, like a fart bomb, which he very quietly says like he harvested from David Allen Greer while he was sleeping.
Yeah.
And so they don't touch on that, but the idea that he's like sitting in his brother's bedroom, like bottling his farts while he's sleeping, is kind of like sick and demented, but
Yeah.
I think it also like fits the sort of the very like ground level ingenuity of this character, because he's trying to do what he can with what he has, and if this is the thing that he has, then so be it. And I think he weaponizes one of them once. Oh, he throws it into the vault with the criminals at the bank robbery, and they're all like choking on it.
Yeah, and he's like they chase the criminals out so they don't get the money, but then the place blows up anyway. So it's like, I don't know. It's like I guess that's supposed to feel like, well, we won, sort of, except the mayor's dead and the money's blown up. So no one gets the money. We can't give it to the people who are outside waiting for it.
Yeah,
But
it's like the life of a rookie superhero.
yeah. But him like collecting that for the stink bomb or whatever is like, yeah, it feels very in line with the Arrested Development of that character. Like he feels like a 9-year-old in a lot of ways. So that sounds about right. You're right. That is something he would do.
Yeah. But that also reminds me of why I asked you if this was in Detroit, because I felt like there was a lot of like connections to RoboCop as well. You've got like the police about to go on strike. You've got this moment at the bank where the people like they're out of money and the people are all in the streets, and you have like this like civil uh tension building up outside. And then we get J5 in the stairwell, like Ed 209 doesn't really know how to like handle the stairs, but he's got to go down them anyway. So that's why I was like, did they make this in Detroit because of like RoboCop's existence there? And I mean, RoboCop has a lot of news segments featured on it as well, so it's
And
possible.
you get the POV shots. The POV shots are good. Theirs are
Yeah.
almost RoboCop-esque. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. So, I mean, I'm sure, Mike Binder had seen RoboCop at the time of making this film. And so if you want to like include your influences there a little bit as well, that's totally fine. I love RoboCop. And the other thing was the way we get to this moment where Blankman has come back from meeting was it Kimberly Johns at the blank station, and she kissed him, and he ejaculates in his pants, and then he comes home and he's trying to describe what's going on like to his brother, and he says something. It's like, oh, it's probably just like a friendly kiss or something like that, and you're talking about her tongue in his mouth, but the way he described it, as he felt like he was laying on a bed of feathers with Q-tips in both ears spinning real fast. And I was like, you know what? I do enjoy a good Q-tipping. So I could see why he enjoys that so much. But I've never heard anyone really like reference the pleasure of Q-tipping in this way. So I definitely wanted to shout out to Damon and Lawton. Whoever put that in the script, I appreciate it.
Well, this might be leading us down the wrong direction, but to split hairs for a minute about what's happening to him at the end of the movie and the scene where they kiss, I thought that was just the sound he makes when he gets an erection, because he doesn't.
It's possible.
Know.
It is possible.
I didn't see it as anything was happening. Like there was nothing there as far as my interpretation of I don't think anything was coming to fruition there. But you saw it as he was actually
I mean,
It
he's
was
on the
happening.
ground like convulsing. So whether or not
I
he's
know, but
arrived at the station or not, he's on the train.
he's on the train. But I thought like they were trying to make the joke of that, like he has been so sheltered, he doesn't even know what like arousal is. So it's like happens to him. He's like, "What the fuck is this?" So that he's just like, I don't know. But it's interesting. I mean, it can be taken different ways. They don't answer the question. They leave it for us to
They don't.
determine.
And I like that, Kimberly, her character is just like, oh my God, this is so cute.
Yeah, she wouldn't be as charmed. She wouldn't be nearly as charmed by it if he was coming in his pants. I don't think. I do not think.
True.
I don't think she would be laughing about it. I think she'd be like, "What the fuck?"
If this movie took place in reality, yes, that would probably be cause for concern. And maybe I just looked at it as like, hey, he's never been with a woman. He's like in his 30s. Like you said, he doesn't really even know like what arousal is. So the line between like him being aroused and him arriving at completion, I don't know that he understands that line. So I just like that he's like, J5, what's happening to me? And he's like thrusting and like he can't really like figure it out. So maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. We'll leave that up to the viewers who rent this. You're going to get your $4 worth.
This also like ties in with this, like there's a through line to there because there's 2 times in the movie where he mentions like he's not really sure how to become a father. He doesn't even know how that happens. He just thinks he's the father because he delivered the baby.
He just held a baby and he's the father.
Oh yeah. What was the line she said? Oh, when she's grabbing the woman in the elevator.
Your finger's so
big. You have a big finger. Thank you. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, like, and I mean, obviously she knows she's not holding his hand at that point. So,
but a pantsed finger. Yeah.
But I like that he takes it as a compliment as she's like crushing his junk as well. And I know that we don't have the benefit of Metacritic to guide us here because they've erased this from existence, but Rotten Tomatoes has still kept this one in existence. So we get to go to the Rotten Tomatoes reviews for Critics Corner.
Nice.
And let's see, we've got 2 positive reviews. I'm going to find one that's a 0 first. Okay, here we go. This is
0.
Yeah, this is Brant Bingaman from the Austin Chronicle, rated as top critic, but this is a review from 2003 as well, so not somebody that watched it in 94, not somebody that watched it now, but somewhere in between. And he says, Blankman's use of the cheesy effects from the Batman TV show, including Polito trying to imitate the Penguin, was initially a good idea, but the execution is simply horrible, and this is what winds up ruining the film.
Okay.
He was good. It seemed like he had some traction there. Like, okay, this didn't end up working, but I think it only doesn't work if you take it seriously. Like he fits it. Like this character fits in with this fake world that they've built. If you're really looking at it like, oh, this is supposed to be Batman, which it's not, then like I don't think you can hold Polito responsible here for his portrayal of the character. But he too saw this as a portrayal of the Penguin.
He's not, and he's not in the movie enough to ruin the movie. Like, if you have such a big problem with him, good news, he's in 15 minutes of a hour and a half movie, so you're good. You're on the clear,
right?
But yeah, I'm glad he also felt Penguin vibes because I was getting strong Penguin vibes for sure.
Yeah,
but
and
Brant should have that's a bad faith review from Brant.
Yeah. I don't know who made him watch this in 2003. He feels victimized.
I know. Yeah, somebody gave him like a stack of old VHS tapes from the 90s.
Right.
Said, watch these.
I know we're doing like 20-year anniversaries for 1994, so get ahead of the curve on this. Let's see. Next, we're going to go to, this is going to be Scott Weinberg from efilmcritic.com. He says, aims for the most simplistic sort of slapstick and fails even at that. And this is also a 2002 review. So another review, well after this movie has released. And I mean, if there's one thing this movie does really well is it embodies its slapstick humor pretty wholeheartedly. It doesn't really pull up. I mean, we've got like the speculum of life. We've got the dick jokes. We've got the the fart canning. We've got all kinds of slapstick, stupid humor in this movie.
I feel like reviewing Blankman from these people's perspective in 2002 or 3 is different than in 1994. You're just figuring out who the Wayans family is. By 2002, you possibly have Wayans family fatigue because they've made a lot of movies. Some are not very funny. I feel like you're almost penalizing this movie for having to watch another Wayans movie, but it's 8 years after. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting a tone of like tired of these guys from these reviews. Like I'm over it, and that's not fair to do because it was the first. It was like the first one, kind of in a way. Well, one of the first ones.
I know. And then, I mean, we arrived even by the time we got to like Mystery Men at the end of the 90s, or I mean, we've seen, what was it? Super, which is a sort of a parody film. Kick-Ass kind of is a superhero parody film as well. So I think like the appetite for the superhero parodies sort of picked up at the end of the 90s, where this was like on the front half of the 90s too. So it was not the best timing for it, but But what are you gonna do? Because this was still like the Batman films were still like pretty popular at the time. I mean, Schumacher took over after the 92 one, and so they were still doing it 95, 97. Was there 5 of
97
those?
was the
4 of them.
last 4. Like 97 was Batman and Robin. Was 4, and then Nolan took over again in 05, I think. But yeah, it was like right in the middle of those 2 periods of Batman. So yeah, they were still in the zeitgeist, I'd say.
Yeah. Let's see. That was a 2 or that was a 1. Yeah, that was a 1. So
There's so many more bad movies to give 1-star reviews to than Blankman. Like it's just a waste of a 1-star review, I feel like.
I know. I feel like I need to go on Letterboxd and start giving it a 5.
I know.
So that way it just like boosts
defend its honor.
Yeah. Okay, so this is Jamie Broadnax from Black Girl Nerds. This is an April 15, 2022 review. Damn. And she says, Blankman at least tried to create a space for the black superhero, even if cinematically this film is a failure. There are probably young black boys and perhaps girls that watched in the 90s and finally saw themselves reflected as a superhero. This doesn't seem like the kind of thing you would say of a movie that you scored 2 out of 5. That seems like a higher score, and it's like, it seems like she understands that this is not meant to be like a serious superhero movie, but still criticizing it for failing as such. But then like, hey, this is good representation for the people that the film is made for in the first place, which it clearly is.
Yeah, that's bizarre. Like, yeah, this this is a cinematic failure, but I'm glad it's here for for the representation. I'm like, all right, I don't know. That's again, just some of these reviews feel like they're just bad faith review. No, it's fine. I can accept that people might not like this movie, but I don't know. Like, yeah, isn't that sort of what was the Robert Townsend movie you were mentioning?
Meteor Man.
That was sort of the similar thing at that, right? It was a superhero movie set in like the African American space, so like it was sort of like that experience that hadn't like between those 2 movies at that time. Actually, you made me curious. I want to go back and watch Meteor Man because I was that one just missed me. I don't know how. It feels like it'd be right in my wheelhouse at that age, but somehow I just never saw it.
I remember liking it, but I also think it was like slightly more serious in its tone. Like it's still a comedy, but it takes the nature of the superhero thing like a little bit more seriously than we get here, which we have like a script that was reworked obviously for Howard Stern into a vehicle for Damon Wayans. So I mean, you can see some of that DNA playing out on screen, but I don't think that's the fault of Damon or Dag or many people who gave good performances and had a lot of fun making this movie as well.
Probably fewer speculum jokes in Meteor Man, right?
Yeah, at least one fewer, I would imagine.
Yeah, at least one less. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go to this is Barbara Schulgasser from Common Sense Media. She gave it a 3 out of 5. So the first positive we got on the board. It says nerdy inventor fights crime, semicolon, cartoonish violence, comma, cursing. So, I mean, hey, she had fun with it. She doesn't really like give much of a critique at all. And this is from July of 2020 also. So, I mean, I'm glad that she was able to give it a positive score.
That's like an MPAA description, like PG-13 for
right?
cartoonish violence, cursing. Like, okay, well done, Barbara. I'm glad you liked
an
it.
Uninspired positive review, but it is a positive review nonetheless. So
thank you,
we got to
Barbara.
take what we can get. And then we'll close it out with Stephen Holden, who is a critic,
I know that name.
top critic for the New York Times.
Yeah. I remember he might work for LA Times at one point, but I remember that name from back in the day.
He ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5, so
Nice.
7 out of 10 for our 10 scale people. And this is a May 20, 2003 review. So he too had to go back and watch this for some project I'm sure he wasn't thrilled about.
Why was everybody watching this in 2002 to 3? I don't understand why everybody watched this so late.
Okay, so hold on. Before I read that, the ones that are listed here as the critics that actually have reviews, we have 2000, 2000, 2000, 2002, 2002, 2002, 2003, 2003, 2003, 2003, 05, 05, 05, 08, 2020, 2022, and 2022. So obviously, like, Rotten Tomatoes didn't exist, I don't think, when this movie.
They compiled them all around that time.
It must have been, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's like in 2000, it seems like they started and then started adding all the reviews in there.
That makes a lot more sense. Okay,
yeah.
so it probably is Stephen Holden's review from when it originally came out. It just was added in 2003. Is what I'm going to tell myself.
Yeah, we'll just have to accept that as the reasoning here.
That's gotta be it.
Yeah, but there's no excuse for these 2020 something reviews.
I know but they don't have Ebert's review on there, by the way. Before I hear what Stephen had to say, oh, that's crazy, because I know he's got one, because his, like, all of his Sun Times reviews are on the archive or whatever. But anyway, what did Stephen say?
Stephen said that Blankman plays it light and silly, but not so broadly that the movie collapses into chaos. Bingo. Look at that.
No.
You're able to have fun with it. You know that the tone of this movie at the very beginning, like I said, if you're not on board with them, like, flooding the house and the grandma sort of lecturing them about their sex habits and that kind of stuff, that's all in the first 5 minutes. Like, if you're not on board at that point, then this just isn't going to be the kind of movie for you. And if you go into this like this is a black superhero movie, you're probably going to be disappointed, because it's not Black Panther, right? Like, Black Panther is a significantly different entry into the same genre than this is. This is a comedy about a black superhero, not a black superhero film in that same way.
Right. That's what that other girl was expecting. That one review.
Right. This is so different than Black Panther. I'm shocked.
I'm glad it exists, but it's a failure. I was also gonna say, like, I just thought of it when you were saying the opening about, like, the way it starts. It also has a really good animated opening with, like, the credits and the two of them, Blankman and another guy.
Yeah.
Like a full, like, Batman style animated. It looked like Batman. It also looked like when they used to do the Ambiguously Gay duo on SNL. It had that animation vibe, and that was cool. I like that a lot. And then they even brought in the parts like you were talking about early, and they do it again at the end in a fight where they bring in, like, the big words like "pow" and when they're hitting people. So all those, like, nice old timey comic touches are appreciated, I think.
Yeah, I think that when you really, like, if you step outside of this and just, like, okay, forget about, like, what you think of the movie, your experience with the movie for a second, and look at sort of like the skeleton of it. Like, this is fan service, sort of like before that thing became popular. This is a movie about fans of Batman becoming their own version of Batman in a world that doesn't accept that. And I think, like, if you were to lay it out like that, it seems like a more palatable description of the film than something like, what was it, like nerdy gadgets, warning for violence and comedy.
yeah, cartoonish violence, yeah. Nerdy gadgets. Oh,
I forgot it already.
No, that's pretty close. I mean, she may as well have written that. What is it, like a 7-word synopsis?
Yeah. But yeah, since you're such a big Siskel and Ebert fan, Ebert in particular, let's just see his review. It's 2 minutes long. We'll get to watch them probably be pretty savage about this, but nice. I think it's okay. We've done it before on this show. All right, let's go, fellas. What do you got?
My boys.
There is a very silly comedy called Blankman that tickled me most of the time with some big laughs before it sort of petered out at the end. Damon Wayans teams up with his old in-living color partner David Allen Grier in the story of a nerdy guy who becomes a neighborhood superhero, much to the amazement of his more cool brother.
What do you think? If you walk out on the street like that, they're going to arrest you and lock you in the nut house.
They're funny together. The would-be crime fighter gets in trouble with the police, and the scene where his big brother springs him is pretty funny, too.
Bye, guys. And remember what I said. Life of crime is a waste of what?
I had the subtitles on during the scene, and one of the guys yells, "Suck my shit."
Robin Gibbons, an underrated actress, I think, plays the love interest in the film, a TV reporter who sort of likes funky Blankman.
You better check your sources on that story, Manelli. You might have got a bad lead.
Blankman. I see you finally got somebody who works with you who dresses worse than you do. What is your name, other guy?
Well, I don't really have one yet.
How about poorly dressed dead man?
I found myself laughing a lot at Blankman, more than I expected to. This is the kind of picture that Robert Townsend wanted to make with his African-American superhero comedy Meteor Man from last year. But Blankman does work in the tradition of a silly Jerry Lewis comedy. It's nothing but gags, but Wayans and Grier, who were so funny as the gay film critics on In Living Color, I think they work well together here. You know, I know you heard me laugh. We saw this picture together. You heard me laughing, some big laughs during the film, and I enjoyed it.
Well, I don't think you heard me laughing quite so much. I was amused by a lot of the stuff. There were a couple of times
Come on, Raj.
that I thought were funny, but generally speaking, Gene, here I have the same problem that you had with actually Oliver Stone's film, which is a whole lot better, and that is there is no third act. I mean,
they're talking about Natural Born Killers, by the way. What a parallel. What a parallel.
And it's the kind of movie you could watch it on The Late Show, you could watch it on a video, you could have fun with it up to a point, but I can't really recommend it.
All right, well, I had enough laughs in the first two acts that I say to someone, it's funny.
All right,
Roger, you could say, you could spend $4 renting it in 20 years, 30 years, rather. That's one of the things Roger would say. He's like, yeah, 30 years from now, you could spend $4 to rent it.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't be wrong. Here we are, both of us spent money renting it.
I think like Gene was kind of on the money. Like it's basically wall-to-wall gags, and they're funny. That's all to me that it really has to be.
Yeah, and this is coming from guys that were, basically doing sketch comedy for years and really like sharpening their trade there on In Living Color. So it makes sense that it is a gag-based film. And I'm really intrigued by what he said about Meteor Man, and that this is what Robert Townsend wanted to do, is to make a movie that's more like Blankman. So now I really want to go and find Meteor Man and see like what it is like in comparison, because it was the year before this, and like he's not coming from a place of working with Damon and Dag and Jim Carrey and Jamie Foxx, I think, was on In Living Color as well. So you've got like all of these guys who became like really good comedic actors over time, and even like good dramatic actors. So
yeah,
I think I have to watch Meteor Man now this weekend. I got to make some time for it.
Yeah, it didn't sound like they liked it, but like, yeah, they were saying like so this movie, I would say wall-to-wall gags is sort of a way to say it, but I would say it also, like we talked about, it does like kind of have room for some character development and some kind of sweetness in there. But if they didn't like this, I would say like it only gets further from this as the Wayans films progress. Like it gets more and more gag heavy, more and more like Naked Gun, which they like Naked Gun movies, by the way. So, but it's like, but that was hilarious to say. If I remember correctly, Gene just said that he wasn't crazy about in Natural Born Killers, where the direction the movie goes when they go to prison in the last part of that movie. And so Roger ties it back and goes, as you said with the previous film, I don't like the third act of this. It's like to draw a parallel between Blankman and Natural Born Killers is demented.
It is, but I mean, if you like Natural Born Killers and you wanna check out Blankman, then we're not going to stand in your way.
Yeah, both good movies, I would say.
Yeah, very, very different. They have nothing in common other than there's a scene where they end up in prison in both movies, and that they seem to be maybe the same release weekend back in '94.
Yeah, maybe so. And I don't know. There's a lot. They're pretty much exactly alike. I'm just kidding. They're both savage commentaries on the media.
Hey, that's one way to look at it. Maybe Scott's going to recommend Natural Born Killers as his pick. But before we do that and wrap things up, is there anything about Blankman that you wanted to touch on that we didn't get a chance to yet?
There are two scenes on the train that make me laugh, and they're kind of a similar joke. But so the first one is the lady's getting mugged. He jumps up, Daryl jumps up and fights, throws him out, and then he pulls out a knife. He goes, "He's got a knife! Oh my god, I'm gonna die!" And then the door closed. But the lady goes, "Thank you," and then she sits down and she goes, "The rest of you ain't shit."
Yeah.
And the way she says that line makes me laugh. And then it's parallel with the scene later where after Daryl starts working at McDonald's, which is all the McDonald's stuff is funny to me too. The lady's getting mugged in front of him, like, and he just puts the McDonald's crew guy like handbook up above his face, and she gets mugged, and then she slaps it away and goes, "What did she say?" She says, "You like?" Oh, she said, "Weak, goofy bastard." And he just like looks like rattled and gets up and moves back a seat, like he's like so thrown by that. But I did like the Ronald McDonald, like when he says, no, I just started here. Ronald McDonald's coming next week. We gotta whip this place into shape." All the McDonald's stuff was good. There's just too many good jokes in this movie. It's all funny. I liked the like 90s R&B soundtrack a lot. It just
It
stuff
felt at
from that.
home.
It's a very like transporting, like time capsule type. Everything about it kind of feels that way to me. So, and probably, I mean, yeah, if I watched this movie today and I'd never seen it before, maybe I wouldn't like it as much as I do. But there's a part of it that feels nostalgic, and I really enjoy it. So
Yeah,
it's a breeze too. It's like 90 minutes. It's so
Yeah.
easy to watch.
Perfect. I think it's like 90, 92 minutes, something like that. So
Yeah.
it's not
Oh,
going to
and
take
the
up a lot of your time.
no, and the noon chucks. That's the last thing I'll say. The noon chucks
Are they like, those toys where you used to have to like pull the cord to wind it up? Was it that?
He has to wind it up at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like a lawnmower. It's like you got to
Yeah.
crank. Yeah. To get it to start. But yeah, good movie. 7 out
Yeah.
of 5. So, or 7 out of 10. Not 7 out of 5.
That's how good
Yeah.
this movie is. It just got a
It's
7 out of 5.
the best movie ever made. No. Yeah, I'd say like 7 out of 10. That's what 3.5 out of 5 is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had a really good time with it. I remembered so little of it that I think it gave me like enough clearance and enough distance from it to like appreciate the stuff that is very clearly adult that you definitely wouldn't pick up on as like a 10-year-old. And seeing all of that really made me just appreciate the fact that like this movie got made in the first place. And it's one of those moments where it's like, hey, if we're gonna make the movie that we want to make about a black superhero, like let's have fun with it and like not be pretentious and like not get bogged down and like the responsibility of the film and just do the stupid fun movie that we would have made if this were a sketch on In Living Color.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. Not sad. It's probably not the right word, but like it's. First of all, I don't think this movie would really be made today. But if it were,
No.
it would be like buried on streaming. Like you
Yeah.
would never hear of it or hear from. It's nice to think that there was a time when this kind of goofy stuff could like just come to theaters, and even if it didn't make $1 million or didn't make like $20 million, it was. I mean, it was considered, I guess, supposedly a failure, but it wasn't like. Yeah, it wasn't like a devastating, destroyed anyone's career failure,
Yeah, I mean, definitely not. But who produced this? This was Columbia. Okay, so what streaming service is connected to Columbia? Because
Well,
next year,
Sony
next year would
bought
be
Columbia
30.
and TriStar. So
Okay, so who does Sony? I don't know.
Sony, I'm
Put
not
it on
sure who they're
PlayStation
kind of-
Network. Next year's the 30th anniversary. Sony, if you got any balls, put this as a free streaming giveaway on the PlayStation Network. Because I mean, it's not free. People pay for that, and I do. So, hey, people need to be able to see it. It's not really readily available anywhere. It really didn't do well box office wise, which is probably it's one of those things where it's like a movie fails financially, and if you know that before you see it, you automatically like dock points from it for that.
Yeah.
And
I know
so
what you mean.
yeah, so this movie like didn't make its money back, and they're like, oh, it failed at succeeding financially. It's like, I don't think the goal of this movie was to succeed financially. It was to
Right.
make the kind of dumb movie that it was. And it's surprising that it cost $30 million. That's the surprising part. But like it making $7-8 million is not really super surprising.
Yeah. Well, and then like the bottom line of it sort of is like, for me, it doesn't feel like it was made to make money. It doesn't feel cynical at all. It feels like he was just very inspired by his childhood and by comic books
Yeah.
to make it. And it feels very pure in its genesis, I guess you'd say. So I
Yeah,
like that.
And I think that's why like the Daryl character works, even though he doesn't strike you as like a super realistic character. Although, I mean, like as we've gone forward in time since the 90s, it's like being, 30 and just like a huge nerd is not really like this thing that's uncommon, and it's okay. So it was maybe a little bit ahead of its time in that way as well. But I'm going to ask you, like, what movie would be a good gateway drug kind of movie to get somebody into Blankman? It's probably not going to be Natural Born Killers.
Well, that was my answer. So, see, I feel like, let's see. Okay, Blankman. I feel like this is almost like a gateway drug to get into like this was my gateway drug to get into superhero movies, kind of.
Yeah.
So, I guess the best thing you could watch if you were really wanting to like get in the right headspace for this would be to watch like an old episode of those Batman cartoons. Not cartoons, the old like 60s Batman with like Adam West.
Yeah, didn't they make one movie from that as
They
well?
did make a movie. Watch
Okay.
that movie. That would be a good way to start, because it would at least get you in the right. You would immediately recognize like half the references, I feel like, if you had experience with that old 60s yeah, there is a movie, so that would be,
Yeah.
I guess that's my recommendation. Maybe the Meteor Man. I don't know. No,
Yeah.
we won't know until we see
report
it.
back on a future
Yeah.
episode. where we cover
Sounds
the-
like the Meteor Man might have tried to do something like this, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you watch the original Batman movie and then watch this, you would, all the connective tissue would be there, and you would really understand like where these characters are coming from, so you wouldn't have to maybe like work so hard. But I would maybe suggest The Mask. I know it's another movie I've done on this show, and a movie that a lot of people like, a movie that had way more success than this. But I do feel like if you were to just watch them back to back, you could take them as two movies that exist in the same universe. And if you're willing to entertain The Mask now, you'd probably be a lot more willing to indulge this. Although The Mask does present like the Jim Carrey that we basically know from many other films. So this is like Damon Wayans playing this very particular character, and it's a character choice that may rub people the wrong way, but do it. Check it out.
I feel like The Mask would make this movie seem like it was on downers. Like it would seem tranquilized compared to The Mask. The Mask is a lot. I like The Mask, but yeah, people would watch this and go, God, these people are calm throughout the whole movie. Yeah,
they seem
and
perfectly
there's no
reasonable.
There's no musical numbers. What in the world?
There's not, but this movie does have an original song that was written for it that plays, I think, over either the opening credits or somewhere early there in the beginning, which is pretty solid.
I thought you were going to say the song was he was lowering himself down into the elevator. I'm almost there now.
Oh, yeah.
Just hang on. Just hang on.
I think he's singing to the Batman music when he's doing that, too.
Yeah, I
isn't
think he is, too. Yeah.
Cool. Well, this has
stuff.
been a lot of fun. I'm so glad that you picked this and we're able to reschedule and find a time that worked for both of us. And this is going to just go down as an honorary September edition of the show.
Nice. I'm glad we were able to get it in. Yes. Sorry about the reschedule, but yeah, I'm glad we got to do it. It was fun.
No worries. I mean, obviously the rescheduling bug went around. I thought we were doing this on Wednesday, and then I had another appointment that was conflicting. So I moved that around, and turns out I didn't have to record on Wednesday. So
God, I'm so glad I said, yeah, I'll see you Friday.
Me too. I would have just been sitting there like,
what in the world? Yeah.
I'd be like, oh my God, did we mess this up again? A third time? Is it possible?
He stood me up over Blankman.
Right. But yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. I don't know if you're going to be around tomorrow to talk Valley Girl for Film Club, but I'm looking forward to that as well. I still got to schedule some time tonight to watch that, but I'm excited to keep pushing forward with Nick Vember.
Yeah, I'm going to try to watch it. And And so it's tomorrow at 10. Yeah, I think I'll be able to, like, a stupid tennis gets in the way, but I'm going to try my best to make it tomorrow for at least part of it to talk about it. So I've never seen it, so I'll have to watch it
Me
tonight
either.
too. So yeah.
I know, I'm surprised. I get to check a very rare unwatched Cage movie off the list.
Who picked 8mm, by the way?
I did.
You did? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
because you hadn't seen it. Yeah.
No, I
That
saw
was
it.
okay.
Yeah, I own the
Oh, yeah.
DVD, so I was like, I
Oh.
was able to just pull it off the shelf, but everybody else, for the most part, had to rent it. But yeah, it's like 8mm is one of those movies that like I saw in the late 90s, and I was like, oh, Joaquin, Cage, Gandolfini, great cast, just like a dark subject matter.
Mhm.
And it wasn't this movie that I really like held in high esteem or anything. I just had always liked it, and I really hadn't revisited it in a long time. And it was, yeah, because of the Nick Cage draft we did last year in November, where I took 8mm and then it got eliminated so early in the contest. I was like, well, that seemed unjust. So let's
Yeah.
make everybody talk about it.
I think I benefited from lowered expectations because, as I mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of Joel Schumacher's work. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna hate this. And I watched it like, this is actually not too bad. Like, I actually kind of liked it more than I thought I would. So
Yeah, I mean the performances were good. I mean the movie is like at 2 hours, 3 minutes, something like that. It's a little
Yeah, about
long.
that.
It's like, okay, you could have cut out like 15 minutes of this movie and just like tightened it up, but it's
when
Cage.
I finally saw the end of it, though, because I didn't see it when we talked, that sequence of them in the house toward the end is good. It's like effective. It's creepy. I was kind of on the edge of my seat. I was like, what's gonna happen? So
Cool.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time with it, but I'm more glad that we were able to get this sorted out because Blankman, it's so much fun. Like, sure,
Yeah.
it's stupid and it's a little weird and unbelievable and all those things that would be attached to a project like this of the early 90s, but have fun with it. That's what it's there for.
Yeah, it's super fun and reminds me of childhood. So yeah, it's a favorite in my heart.
Cool. Well, thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right, but you too. Buckler, thank you.
No problem.
Here's someone new on the block. No bad a spider could compare to this top-notch hero. He's everyday people, defending our good, destroying our evil, putting in work on the bad guys and doing pretty good. So it's wise to recognize. Recognize what? That is number one and take second and none. If you don't know, here he comes.
My many thanks to Scott for hanging out and talking Blankman. Been a long time since I had seen that movie, and having an excuse to go back and enjoy the shit out of it was a whole lot of fun. You can find Scott on X at Cole, Scott, spelled out, and on Letterboxd, which I put the link up for. And you can see some of his writing at MusicCityDrivein.com. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this episode. I know you have a lot of choices when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you spending your time with us. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you do, please consider leaving a rating and telling a friend about it. And the new support page is live at ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/badmovieswelove. I'd love to hear from you, so if you have a bad movie you love, and or maybe would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me now at badmovieswelove@thesheist.com or badmovieswelove on Twitter and Instagram, and that's love with an LUV. And as always, take care, be well, stay safe, and have fun however you get your movies.